Hey guys, Will Beach here, back with great trades in the TechMo trading course, and today is the last piece of the um, chart lower indicators we're going to set up. And with that being said, again, I have two little kids, so if you hear them in the background, that's why. And we're going to be adding the last piece of the puzzle down here on the bottom indicator, and that is the stochastic slow. So if you're following along with the TD Ameritrade Think or Swim platform, we're going to go into studies, we're going to go into edit studies, we're going to start typing in the box here, stock, and we're going to get the stochastic slow. We're going to add it, and the reason why I did this one last by itself is because we're actually going to change the settings on this one. We're going to slow this down to a 5-3. So that means we want a 5 on the K period and a 3 on the D period. And when we do our breakout signal, we want it on the D period. So I'll show you what that's going to look like. We're going to change our colors, make sure they're nice and bright. K is green. I always you'd like to move those to 2. D is red. And we'll do up signal is green, down signal is red. We want to show the breakouts on slow D. And that should be it. So we changed K period to 5, D period to 3, changed our colors, we changed the breakout to represent on slow D, and let's apply and make sure that this is correct. We'll bring it up here. Okay, so green above, yeah, green, red. Okay, so what is our signals? So this was something that I had to study for quite a while before I realized it was better to represent the D line, which is more of the average line, than it is the K line to make sure we got our full play. So what does that mean? It means that you can see that in this, the green or the K line crosses over, but the play continues on. So it's safer to play off of the D line to make sure you get the full spectrum, because if you see this, you already would have seen that with all the rest of the representative indicators, we were still continuing on up. And then you can see here, right in these red candles, that it wasn't the K line crossover, but the D line that really showed us that there is a little bit of pullback here. So now that we have all of our indicators complete, we have the full picture. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I forgot to save this last time, so I need to add our breakout signals on here. Let me do that really quickly. Breakout signals, yes. Up signal green, down signal red. All right. And there we have it. For simplicity, we can take off the red down signals strictly because I don't like to play shorts, but they still do help to confirm when a trend is ending visually. Um, you can see that we want to make sure we have, yes, our up signals. Okay. So how does this play out? So now that we have all of our indicators, what are we looking for in momentum building stocks? We've established that the ADXR is in momentum when it is 25 or higher. It doesn't mean you can't purchase lower as long as everything lines up, but we know that we've entered momentum. So you can see in this example with Apple on the 1 hour chart that as everything is red, red, red stochastic with double red lined up on MACD and momentum and an increasing in momentum, that this was a hard pullback and actually, got this really weird low drop here. But this would not be a safe place to go. This would not be a safe place to buy. Trying to find this pullback is not safe. It is not safe because of how much momentum we are gaining on the downside. We would have to wait for a complete reversal of momentum shift, which is going to take quite a bit of time, to be honest, unless there's some kind of news that breaks it out of this pattern or something. But we still want to wait for the crossovers. So how do we line everything up exactly the way we want it? Well, what we're looking for is all green arrows to be lined up, just like you see the red arrows lined up. You'll always have the leading stochastic, which would be the first indicator. If this one is red and these ones are perfectly lined up red with an increasing indicator, that's a good move if you wanted to play the downside. Now, I don't play the downside, so I'm looking for the reverse of that, which would be something along the lines of green stochastic with perfectly lined up green momentum and MACD, which we don't see here. But here's the only time you can play a red stochastic with green momentum, ADXR, and MACD is if you are trending above the 50 SMA line. If you're trending above the 50 SMA line, it's okay for this to be red as long as you have good pullbacks like this. And then you can see here you have within a tick of each other, green, green. You have a nice curving up momentum building stochastic or ADXR, and you can see how that momentum starts to carry this chart in this pattern all the way up to this beautiful thing. So if you play any of these where we have this build up, what you're looking for is a nice gradual build up on everything. You can see this went low, almost crossed over, but it's okay because as long as it stays here above this 50, then it's okay to stay above the very bottom here. And then building up, building up, and of course the momentum is what we're trading. We're trading momentum. So we really want to see this. Now, this would have been premature, which is why you didn't get an explosion here. You got up because everything was going up, but it could not explode out because it didn't have that momentum. So when you're looking for these explosion breakouts, it's because momentum had occurred above 25. So let's continue. You see, once momentum is building, we are above 25 at this point, and you can see that MACD starts pulling over. Most of the time, people go, oh, MACD's curled over, it's gone red, I have to sell. However, they lose their position and they wonder why it kept going up. It kept going up because it has entered a momentum state. So now we know that it's a safe play. Even with a dip like this, our entry back here, 323, is safe because this is still 327 at the low. And now you can see it goes up a little more, pulls back again. People get scared here. Oh, it went up to 333 and now pulled back again. But our entry is so low now that we're safe in this play. And our first level of momentum concern is when the ADX actually crosses over to the negative. Now, that all follows into each other right here, and you can see you get that dip. So if anything, that would be the level of concern is, are we going to maintain a momentum state here? So would this have been a safe play? We can dictate whether it's safe to stay in or not based on the spread of our lines. These are so tightly wound together that there was not any major concern. And although the one thing here that would have been a concern is the slight momentum shift. See how this was going down and this reversed going up? That would have been a little bit of concern here, but we could have sold here because remember this was already you're not day trading, you're swing trading. So you technically could have sold, but this is really pre-market. So you wouldn't have even known this existed if you slept through 4 a.m. And next thing you know, you're waking up to a perfectly set up upward trending stock again, and you wake up and it has its full breakout. And it's not uncommon to see this last little dip before these breakouts. And we are in above 25, right? Our momentum has been built up. And now, after we get a breakout, we're building and building and building. So then, when is it? When's our exit? So now you have the MACD, and you see now the big change here is the separation in the lines, and this separation in the ADXR says, okay, now we're about to dive down low. So right here would have been a full consolidation, and this would have been a place to sell, because consolidation is when all four of your lines are going down at the exact same time. When all four of your lines are going down at the exact same time, you are entering consolidation and you are going to nosedive. However, that is a different play that I can teach you guys later with Bollingers, how to then play this part up. But we're just talking right now strictly on momentum. This is a 1 hour chart on Apple. Playing momentum would have basically taken you 1, 2, 3, 4 days of swinging, and you would have gone essentially in this 323 range to potentially selling out in the 348 to 350 range. Once you really learn the trend and you know you've been in momentum for a really long time, and you see that you're peaking up, I mean, we're in this 40 range of the ADXR, which is really extended, and you see this gap forming. So now we're extended and there's a gap forming. We know we're going to have pullback. And any of this, right before this day ends, and you see it has this double top where it can't break through and has that long candle wick, then, that's a very safe place to end at 350. That, and even if you have sold here at 348, I mean, that is a phenomenal play. I can show you this end over end on any chart, any stock. I actually play penny stocks. The only difference is I'm going to be way more cautious in how long I hold a penny stock, because they tend to do public offerings and things that really will mess you up if you're not paying attention and really taking profit and not being too greedy. And you can see again as we go down here, we're below 50. So this being below the 50 and playing this back up would have been a lot harder to detect, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to actually get rejected on that 50-day line, whereas Apple was strong enough to break through it. But you can see now it actually ended up falling hard and gaining momentum to the downside. So even though it broke through it, is very temporary, and ended up falling hard. So this is actually not the setup play that I would have taken, even though there's a lot of gains to be made. It just isn't the setup. We have to wait for a momentum setup. Let's go ahead and pull something else. And I'm going to go into more. This course is not over by any means, and I'm going to show you guys just time after time how we can find these setups. So in NVIDIA's case, so this would have been the perfect setup from here. It's okay within a couple bars of each other as long as the ADX is building like you want to see. The ideal case is that they line up perfectly like this. You see how this momentum builds up But again, you see how this was red and it's not above 50? It would have told me that we could have played this short burst play, like intraday play, but I would have expected it to get declined at the 50. The difference is some of these tech stocks are just so hot right now that they're breaking through, but that's neither here nor there. We play a certain type of pattern and we stick to it. So that wouldn't have been my ideal setup. Over here would be the ideal setup. You would break above, you would have green, green. We went very low and we broke out above the 50, and we had a nice increasing ADXR above. So this setup right here would have been a 1-day swing trade. You would have probably purchased in the 359 to 360 range, and you could have played it for the next day breakout to 380. And you would have sold probably when you realized this dip occurred and then it could not hold above. Any momentum stock, you have to be really paying attention to not being greedy. There's a lot of money to be made, and you're going to leave a lot of money on the table, and that's okay. There's plenty of setups, and actually here is actually a better setup and a lower entry. Green stochastic, one bar off, lined up, earnings as a catalyst, and with earnings it didn't fall. So then we actually have a nice build up. So you could have actually played any of this, even if you bought here and you held through these little dips. The dips were so low, even if you went red for just a little bit and you knew that you were, building up towards a big breakout, that's, of no concern. You can see that that held time and time again. If you just draw a line, you can see that you're safe. Wouldn't have been concerning at all. There's a lot more strategy to this. This is just the quick version as we completed the charts so you can get an idea of what we're looking at. But there's so much more that you as traders have to adapt on your own. I can only tell you what I see and what I play, what my concerns are, but it's you as an individual that has to start piecing your own thoughts together, your own style together, what makes sense to you in order to develop a strategy that's your own. Getting something as complex as what I use, not many people can get into because it's so much to look at one time. But you have to analyze stocks to get better. And it's not, you may find it easier and faster to analyze a 1 minute chart because you can get more repetitions in a shorter time period, to see the lineup. See, like this 1 minute, I might see 3 or 4 times a day, right? Here it is right here, up, 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 but rejected at 50, right? Up, 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 but below 50, and no gaining of the ADXR. Look how low the ADX is. Look how low it is. And you see there's no true breakouts. Look how low it is. People will try and day trade this stuff all day long and wonder why as soon as they buy it falls, as soon as they buy it falls, as soon as they buy it falls, and they lose money day trading. It's because there's no momentum behind the trade, so there's nothing for them to do. Now let's look at this. You see this big breakout right first thing in the morning? Look at this lineup. Bottom stochastic, perfectly lined up, huge breakout. That's on a 1 minute chart. That's just to get used to seeing what it is that you're looking at. And where was the stochastic? 32. Look at that, 32. Okay. Then it loses momentum. The shift to the downside, that pulls the downside, starts gaining momentum, and you can see that right here. As this pulls down, the ADX starts rising, and what do you know? It just keeps going down and down and down as the ADX rises and rises. And it's not until you get a crossover on MACD and a crossover on ADX that a certain shift happens. It's not that you've gained momentum, but you've stopped the downside momentum. That's all that is. So this was countered by a crossover and a crossover, but this is only a correction. It just stops this huge drop, but it doesn't mean downside's over. It just means the momentum has subsided to the downside for now. Anyways, I don't want to overload this video too much. I just want you to see, now that the big picture is completed, what we're capable of, and we'll keep making videos teaching you along the way. Thanks for joining. Make sure you subscribe and stay in the loop with momentum trades.